Good afternoon, and welcome to this edition of the Afternoons with an Author. And today we are delighted to have with us Mr. Utpal Kumar, who's just written a fantastic book called Bharat Rising. In fact, Bharat has always been rising, but he's been able to encapsulate it in the title. And therefore, we'll give him credit for encapsulating the current state of India, that is Bharat, into a wonderful title. Congratulations, Utpal, for having written this. And Utpal has been writing very frequently these days. In fact, his last column, I think, came day before or yesterday. That was on the announcements that were made by Mr. Rajiv Gandhi, Mr. Rahul Gandhi, on which was going back about 40 years in time. So we can quiz him about that as well. Utpal has been is working with Network 18 and is a very prominent journalist. Joining us today is Atul Thakur. Very happy to share with you that Atul's book on Nepal has just come out. Atul, will you please show the cover page of your book? Here's the cover page, has the
Kathmandu
famous
Chronicle.
temple of
Kathmandu
Kathmandu. And Atul was supposed to have been in Kathmandu today. But fortunately for us, Atul is here with us. And Atul is also a very prolific writer and speaker. Currently heads the Indo-Nepal cell at the PHDCCI. So friends, this conversation comes to you with the support of the National Digital Library of India, which is based out of IIT Kharagpur. We're very grateful to our partners, Green Panel, Coal India, ONGC, REC, Incredible India, NEFET, and of course Uttarakhand Tourism. So without much ado, Atul, why don't you start the conversation?
Thank you.
And also request all our friends who are watching it to send their queries on the email. We'll try to respond to them. Over to you, Atul.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for having us here. This is going to be our third discussion on the book with Utpalji. Utpalji happens to be an old friend of mine, a senior journalist, a rare web bibliophile, which I keep saying about him. And he's someone who I will consider as one of the best readers. First of all, the first compliment which I want to give. You can see the books, number of books which he has in the background. I don't have even one. So, Utpalji, first compliments to you for writing the book. Now it is a major bestseller, I believe. And somewhere I also can see that this parliamentary election is influenced with the thoughts which we have shared in the book about the purposeful way of using the history, interpretation, the promises with New India mechanism which we have at this time. What is your take that how India is going forward?
First of all, thank you.
Post elections about Dixit Bharat.
First of all, thank you, Sanjeev sir, for being here, and Atul, as usual, you have been great help to me, and for pushing me in my book. So I'm really grateful. As far as Bharat Rising is there, it's obvious that Bharat is rising, as Sanjeev sir said a while back. There is no doubt about that, and as historically also see, that's one thing which is more in the line of history. We believe in the cyclic style of history where things go in a cycle. So I think we have gone through the phases of poverty and deprivation. What we saw in last 250 years to 300 years after British Raj, and then 70 years of a bit of wilderness, as I call it. We kind of the lost decades where we could have done things. Though I know I'll be very honest that that democratically India got more stronger in the seven decades. So that much we do, but we could have done much better in from 47 to 2014 than what our potential was. But today, when we look back, I believe that India is destined for greatness. India is going to be the Vishwa Guru, as people say. But yeah, for that we have to work hard. We have to put all our things in the right perspective.
While it's a kind of counter on liberal values in African worldview, but somewhere you have credited to the people who tried doing something different for India. Like in the preface itself, you have written, I would like to read. if Bharat gained political independence in 1947, it became economically free only in 1951 under the first non-Gandhi-led Congress government to run the full term. P.V. Narasimha Rao, in a jugalbandi with Manmohan Singh, initiated the country's liberalization process. It was this decision to let the genies of the market come out of the statistician bottle that laid the foundation of the global economic power that Bharat is today. Building on this foundation, the country has today displaced the United Kingdom to become the fifth largest economy in the world, and is all set to take the third slot in the by the end of the decade, after the US and China. So, Utpalji, I can see that somewhere where you found the merit, you gave the credit to the right set of people. But again, somewhere have been it seems like you have been protesting against a kind of pattern under the liberal value system. So, what exactly is the difference? Whether you countered on centrist tendency in the Congress party, or you think that there have been different streams over there?
I see, as you mentioned, India had a kind of a false start in 47. And, uh, we in fact, I'll be honest to say that and diplomatically on foreign affairs we chose wrong ally, or we could have gone with the Western order. I still believe, despite the fact that I believe that we have Americans are very tough, very difficult friends or allies. They can be very tricky, but still I thought that by joining with this non-Western order, we kind of missed the bus a bit in that time, and that was largely because Nehru was somebody who put ideology first, in his approach. He loved this country. There's no doubt. I'm not someone who
Yes.
questioned his integrity for this nation. He loved his intentions were right, but somehow he had flawed understanding of this country. He saw it from the British prism, and I would very honestly say, and that's where I think he got it wrong. So we missed that bus in 1991. We are forced to uh, change our policy again. It was not out of will. We were actually we were in such a dire state that we had no option. But still, I give credit to P.V. Narasimha Rao. I believe he's one of the best prime ministers we had, and he not just changed our economic this thing, but also foreign policy. Like we kind of we initiated our relations with Israel at that time. So and we started becoming a more pragmatic nation in 1991. But
Utpal, I
yeah,
could just ask you one question. You said, and I will find it a bit difficult to agree with you on that. You said that he was looking at India through the prism of British eyes, with respect to Nehru. If he was looking at India through the prism of British eyes, then he would have supported the US and because UK and US were alliance partners. So I think, would you
no,
clarify that
yeah,
statement?
yeah.
Because
It's a very
he was
fair.
influenced by the Fabian socialists of his time, yes, but the establishment of UK and USA were sort of hand in glove. So that's a little clarification that I'd want from you.
It's a very important question, sir. Yeah, and I'm glad you asked this. British played very smartly with India. You see, 1940s, Americans were very positive towards India and Indians. In fact, they supported. They wanted. Roosevelt wanted India to. Was doing everything possible to stall him. And you see, for the next almost 2 decades, till in fact 1965, after that, mid 60s, the American policy just turned anti-India. Americans were largely supportive of India. They wanted to see India through. They wanted to take India along. In fact, somebody like the president. I'm sorry, name. Uh,
Roosevelt?
no, not Roosevelt.
Roosevelt,
Kennedy,
Eisenhower,
Kennedy, Kennedy,
Kennedy was,
Kennedy,
was
Kennedy.
Kennedy. In fact, went to the extent of offering India the know-how, nuclear know-how. He wanted India to test nuclear weapons before China does, because he was an idealist. He wanted democratic country to do so first. But we somehow but all through there was something interesting was happening. Whenever America was trying to reach out to India, and America at some point also wanted to lead India, like in the Asian region. Britain used to play both ways, and that is on record. Britain used to come and tell India that please don't do this. This will your sovereignty will be at risk, and again go to the US and say that see Indians are very difficult nations. You can't deal with them. They deliberate a lot and they're suspect, and that is on record. So they played both of them. They somehow didn't want India to be in that axis where their control of the region is compromised. They wanted to hold this region, and they wanted Americans to be to run this region through Britain. So yeah,
Okay.
so that was the trick they were playing.
Explains
Yeah,
the
yeah,
situation. Yeah, but I agree with you. You see that at least one thing on which we can never. I think when we were being, I mean, about the membership of the Communist China in the Security Council. I mean, that is one very big strategic mistake that we perhaps made at that time. But let's get back to your book. Let's get
yeah. And
back to.
in fact, you mentioned about this recognition of China by India. On that also, at that time, America wanted India to go slow.
Yes. At the
Yes.
forefront.
And don't rush into that. In fact, the ambassador told India that what is India going to gain out of it? Please go and find out for yourself. But somehow Indians hurried. In fact, that was a great one of the.
I think that a lot of it should go to, I mean, a lot of discredit should go to Mr. Panikar, who was
Yeah.
an ambassador there.
Yeah.
And in fact, you have records of the Secretary General of the Foreign Office, Sir Girja Shankar Bajpai,
Yes.
saying
Yes.
that this is wrong. And so, in fact, he had to reverse some of the things. In fact, I must point out here that, the we never used China as on the map of India. It was only in 1952 that
Yes.
we brought in China as a neighboring country. Before that, it was always Tibet.
Tibet.
Uh,
Yeah. Yeah.
but let's continue the conversation on your book. Over
Yes.
to you, Atul, again.
Thank
You should grill him. Now you're being very friendly to Utpal. I was saying that you should grill him.
The book, Utpalji, I must tell you one thing. As a reader, one of the early, your book has timeless reader, and there is a reason. You analyze the fault lines, you read the trials and errors of your study, and still you open up the scope of debate. You counter liberal value system. I mean, the liberal value system that was in practice, that was in vogue. Not I'm saying that the book is countering liberal ideas in literal sense. I can read out one more part from page 82, which I quoted in my book review as well, if you remember. It says, the true test of liberalism lies in defending those who belong to the opposite camp. Liberalism can't and should not be selective. There can be, after all, full or none at all. This is where the Nehruvian order fails the test. It not just allowed the marginalization of those who stood out the other side of the ideological divide, but also in some cases ensured they and their supporters were viciously targeted too. So, I mean, you are pointing towards the wasted moments, wasted opportunities where we could have made our democracy even more inclusive, in a sense. Would you like to
Yeah.
reflect on that?
Yeah, in fact, see, one thing we have been told, throughout our this thing is that that the phase, the Nehruvian phase, person was very democratic and liberal. Uh, I must give credit that at a time when other countries in the neighborhood were faltering, and to Nehru's credit, he at least set up a good democratic system here. That credit I must give. But also it's also because I believe that India is democratic is precisely because it is Bharat. We remove Bharat next from India, and it will become into Pakistan and Bangladesh. What's happening there? But that apart, the thing is, you look at that era, that phase, like how some of the opponents were treated by Nehruvian order, and you say that it was not all that good. You think they could have been more, inclusive in their approach. For
Yes.
instance, I mentioned in that chapter, Three Musketeers, and I deliberately chose these three people, Subhash Chandra Bose, then Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, and Savarkar, and all these were patriot in their own sense, very
Well,
different characters,
on
and
page 79. It's on page 79. We have written
yeah.
about it. Yes.
So yeah, and they didn't belong to one ideological set. They all were very, very different from each other. But they all gave so much to this country, but they were marginalized just because they didn't belong to one set of ideological worldview. So that was not right. In fact, Example, you look at how Savarkar had been. In fact, Savarkar had been hounded out in this country, and somebody who had sacrificed everything. You can't compare the sacrifices of people in a British jail in a mainland India and somebody who was jailed in Kalapani. It was saddening even to think the way he was treated, and then when he comes back. And if British are still not sure about that whether they can rely on him, they can trust him. For 10 years, Savarkar was being still spied upon, and still we see the narrative today. It's been by certain section who question the loyalty of the person who gave everything to this nation. So that was not fair. That was not fair. That was absolutely it is. I will call it a very targeted character assassination. And in fact, when he was linked with Gandhi's assassination, somebody as big as Ambedkar, who was law minister then, he categorically told his lawyer, Savarkar's lawyer, that there is pressure from the top to implicate him. So you can see how things were. Things were not as we are told today, and same was case with Bush. Bush's family was spied for almost 2 decades after he was supposedly dead. I personally believe that he didn't die in 1945. There's circumstantial evidences say that he was alive after that. But his family were why was the Bush's family spied for two decades or more than that? So these are some of the really things which put that the government of that era in the dock.
Have we arrived at a place in the history where we can say that now we are recovered from all those problems? Now history is being written purposefully, very inclusive manner, and now we are free from the bad tendencies of the past.
No, we are not. In fact, that will take time. See, what has happened? See, battle is on two fronts: physical and psychological and mental. It's easy to do physical things. You you do, for instance, Ram Mandir, Pran Pratishthan. I don't just see it as a consecration of Ram Lala there. It's a larger thing. It's about civilizationally, it's a thing to be celebrated in that way. So those things have happened, but mentally, we are still yet to come out of this. The hangover of coloniality is still there. We still see it from the prism of the from not from the Indic prism, the prism of the outsider. Even like look at the history, for instance. That's a perfect example because history is the one thing which actually uh, makes you what you are, or at least you project yourself in that thing.
I,
And our history today is still the same history which British gave it to us, and our leftist eminent historians took over from there. In fact, all and today our history is still, I will say, very Delhi centric, absolutely Delhi centric,
it's a
and
big
it is
problem
also
that we
a more like जो होता है इन्वेडर्स की नजर से देखी हुई हिस्ट्री है. We are seeing from the outsiders this thing.
There is a
It's
lot
not
of
our
change.
history.
There's a
Yeah.
lot of change that's happened, Utpal, in the last. In fact, starting with 1909, that was Savarkar's book in which 1857 was described as the first war of independence. So there has been a significant amount of change. I mean, though
Yeah.
change may not be to the extent that we like it, but one very important thing that has happened is that finally, in the last 10 years or so, history has been liberated from historians. You see, what was happening was that till about 10, 15 years ago, it was only professional scholars of history who wrote history. Now, thanks to a lot of people,
Yeah.
I mean, TCA Raghavan, for example, even Sanjeev Sanyal, I mean, whether we agree or we don't agree,
Yeah.
Manu Pillai, so many people, you have started writing, Atul has started writing. So all of us have now started writing history from many different ways.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I agree with you that, that history cannot be written only from the perspective of New Delhi because India is a very vast country. And in fact, Delhi has not always been the capital of India. I mean,
Yeah.
India's capital has moved, from Peshawar to Patna to Patliputra.
Yeah.
It's been with the Cholas. It's been a lot of things that has been happening. But let me ask you a question which has really fascinated me. And this is not just about Bharat; it's about a much larger construct where you say that agriculture is the biggest fraud that has happened on humanity. So I would like you to elaborate on this point, because this is, I mean, I have worked in the agriculture ministry for a long time, and we keep saying that India lives in the villages, agriculture is so important. And here you are saying that agriculture is the biggest fraud that has taken place on humankind. I mean, so will you elaborate on this, Utpal?
Uh, First of all, I must say that that the civilization we are resting on is primarily and precisely based on agriculture. So we wouldn't have been talking here and debating had there been no agriculture revolution. So that goes without saying. What we are precisely because of the agriculture revolution 12,000 years ago. My argument was more on a logical argument where I said nature is by very the nature is very diverse. You don't cultivate live a land and you'll see thousands of plants coming there. And diversity will be at its best at that time. So that was the first time around 12,000 BC to 12,000 years ago from now that we learned agriculture and we tried to homogenize the ecosystem. And the thing is, in the process, what happened that uh, we started like the civilization per se, as we know it today. It started from there, where we started saving some of the resources, and then society became larger, and then nation state came into being. That's what the history we have been told. The problem, what I wanted to ask in this about is that did it help the the person cultivating it, the kisan, the peasant, the farmer? And I realized that no, it hasn't helped him per se. It hasn't helped us as an individual. As a civilization, it has. Had there been no, I must say that we wouldn't have been sitting here and debating it. There would have been jungles still. But you see, the quality of life, I doubt that in the quality of life, if you just say about that material gain, then quality of life can be suspect. And I quoted in the book, in fact, that is the argument I took from Yuval Harari's book, the *Sapiens: A Brief History of Humankind*, and where he talked about how the quality of life after agricultural revolution happened. It's kind of his version, the, and I also quoted another author, uh, James Sussman, who actually who talked about the Bushman tribe in Kalahari region, and there was the famine at that part of the world, and what happened that the agriculture societies, they had to depend on the state for survival, and these people, even at the time of famine, could survive through that because they knew nature better than the rest of us. I think we, in the name of civilization, while we marched ahead, we become very distant from the nature per se and how to live. So that example, and also the research suggested that the quality of eating and everything is much better on those people, with those people, than the people doing farming and all these things. So there is a thing where I say that quality of life per se.
No, I
Yeah,
agree. I mean, it was just a provocative
yeah,
question to
yeah.
provoke
And
you.
in fact,
But I must.
but that is a debate, sir, that will keep on going. Like for instance, mobile phone, has it helped our cause? I suspect I'll be happier keeping mobile out of my sight. Today I'm bored. At about 12 o'clock I can get a call from my boss and say, oh, what about the work? So so it's a double-edged sword.
No, it's a double-edged sword because your boss is happy with the mobile phone. And when you become the boss, you'll be happy that you have a mobile phone.
Yes.
Sorry, Atul, I'm doing most of
Yeah,
the talking. You have
while,
to bring it, but one
while,
supplementary.
while it is debatable about the agrarian income, agrarian marginalization of a certain section, those who don't have too much land or those who don't have too much resources. Because I have been a student of economics, so I would like to just reflect on it in a minute or so. But we have some of the very positive examples from India, like White Revolution. One is the dairy. In that sector, we have really done remarkably well, and that has pushed our economy forward as well. That has worked in every sector. I'm aware about it as an administrator while being in IS, and you have been covering the different things about income side. I completely agree with you, but we should not say it's a scam. It's an unfulfilled promise. We can say that it's half done thing. We should stay unsatisfied towards what we have as of now. But we have certain positive attributes as well, which we should count. One, of course, is dairy. Second is standard of consumption has gone up in the recent past. If you remember the famous or infamous statement by Barack Obama when he said that Indians have started eating well now, better than what they did. Then our Prime Minister of that time, Dr. Manmohan Singh, countered him very well and in gentleman language, but he countered him. So challenges are there, no doubt, but you know where challenges are. Politics is at one place, and there are so many considerations. But we are gradually we are moving into good direction at that front as well. This is my submission. About Viksit Bharat, I think we left to talk. We should talk about Viksit Bharat because post-election this is going to drive the collective consciousness more than any other thing. What is your personal view on that? What should be the framework of making the Viksit Bharat? How we will adjust with the constitutional mandate?
Uh, Viksit Bharat it's a long haul, in that way.
Yes, long
Uh,
haul.
yeah, it's a long haul. And but the thing is, we have to get our act together, whether it's on economy, whether it's on democratic process. Like one of the things, I generally believe that we don't need elections every month. We have to do something about simultaneous elections, state and the national one, because otherwise we're perennially into that mode where we keep on going for all this populist measures and everything. So I think we can work 4 years and 1 year or 6 months we can give to all these populist measures. But right now I think we need to do that. So that is one thing I think this we'll have to think about that. And a certain section of the government is thinking about that, how to deal with that. We can't be constantly in the election mode. Second thing is our economy. Economy we have to be like. We have to up our game in that sense. So thing. One challenge is also there about judicial thing. There is a lot of backlog happening. There also judicial activism is there. So that part, I'll not say much on that, but I'll definitely say that we need to really do something about the judicial reforms also if we want to really make a Viksit Bharat. Diplomacy will come handy, and that's one thing which this government has so far done well. But the real test will come now, because I suspect that the more we are growing, the more China is getting wary, and West is also not very happy about it. So we may have friends in West, but I want to say they are not our allies. They can't be our allies in that way. So it's largely our this thing. We have to maneuver our way, like the way we did it with Ukraine war. It was a great challenge for us, but we somehow handled it well. We managed it well to our advantage, and we have to keep on doing that. But China will be the real test of our where we are.
In this context, Utpal, do you think India should go ahead and recognize Taiwan? Would it be a foolhardy step, or do you think we are now, or we could take this leap forward? Because we took a long time in recognizing Israel, and you just pointed out that Narasimha Rao did something great. I mean, he did an out-of-box thinking by recognizing Taiwan. Now, Taiwan is a country with which we have a lot of, our semiconductors come from there. We have very good relationship with them on the economic front. We've allowed their trade offices in Bombay, in Mumbai, and in Delhi. Their cultural centers are here. So, can we make that leap forward and go ahead and recognize Taiwan? What do
Uh,
you think will that
I
imply?
see. I'm all for that. But I think the better way will be that we should pass that message very strongly that we are pondering about that. हम ये सोच रहे हैं कि हम ऐसा करेंगे. That message across is very important, more than just doing it, because that will take a lot of pros and
Posturing
cons.
itself will make a
But
lot of
posturing will be very important. We have not so far given postured on that. We should do the posting. We should let Chinese now react to that. Okay, we might do that. It's
This
enough is
means that
enough.
every time they make a comment on Arunachal Pradesh, we should send a delegation to
It's
Taiwan.
Taiwan. Wonderful
exactly,
Group of
exactly. Or do or talk something on Tibet, for instance. Tibet was our something, till 50s. We were partner in that Tibet's development. We are closer to Tibet than China was. So we
No,
should
you
we
see,
should start
really,
giving it back a bit. The way they talk about Arunachal Pradesh or Ladakh, give it back in that equal sense, and definitely start talking about that Taiwan line a bit, and see where it goes. I will not just say we could recognize it today itself, because but we should definitely think about that. We should move in that direction and see how China reacts or how world reacts to that.
We also need to recognize two at least two qualities China has today. One, its pull effect, which is very strong towards the world. Second is its preparedness. So we must proceed with Taiwan. Rightly, you have said with Tibet. The two fronts we have. The third front could be even Nepal. I'm
Yeah.
giving you one example. Nepal Investment Summit is going on, and there's huge, gap in if we compare it from China and India. India has been traditionally running the show in Nepal, be it commercial or any area,
Yeah.
any sector. So more than about 67-8% is still happening with India. But when it's about number of delegates, you will be amazed to know that there is huge difference now, and they are not there to do real business. So that's part of that posturing only, sending the delegations here and there. So on all these fronts, we need to do much more, and I think there is growing recognition for that matter. One point which I think we should cover, and that has been dealt in the book in great length, about the notion of Western media towards India. Do you think now it is going to be changed? Because now people have started rejecting their biased views towards projecting it like HR was coming, going to
No,
Rajasthan.
I think this will only increase for a while now.
Only,
uh, I'm not that that view that this is going to end anytime soon, because look what is happening. American campuses are on right now on warfare. I think is I personally believe that India should also give some advisory on that. That how should American deal with protests. It's high time when we should tell something, and not with a lot of seriousness, but yeah, we should definitely because look how
absolutely.
they're.
I think, yeah, how we should be able to give an advisory. That's right.
Yes, it's a high time. They always come and tell us how to behave and how to run our democracy and everything. Look what they're doing. So, but I suspect that uh, this American academia, think tank, and universities, all this, they have been largely American state per se has ignored it for long, and has largely become the hub of this leftist worldview. It has become. And also I believe that a lot of money from the Islamic nation have also been poured in there. Also, to make things worse, this what makes this cocktail deadly is the Chinese money. Chinese money is there in the American media. All the major newspapers have Chinese money. That's absolutely on record. Academia, they have really invested a lot. So point is, that there's a book called 100-Year Marathon. And that category says that how they have created Trojan's army inside United States, and this is what American administration wants to have a good relation with India. Look, they invited Prime Minister Narendra Modi there as a state guest. And that very day, the same day, New York Times runs an article saying that this will be this will be betraying the democracy per se, and this is
going
happening when the
forward,
largest and the oldest democracy are
right,
meeting. So
going
this is
forward,
happening precisely because it's complicated, and this is not going to go away in a day or two.
Yeah.
will
No,
we
it's
have a counter
Atul,
approach for all these tendencies?
Atul, just 1 second.
Yeah.
We just 5 minutes to
Yeah.
closing, and there are some questions from the from
Let's
the.
take the questions. I think
We'll take the
we have enough
question and the comments,
conversation. Yes.
because we are quite happy talking to each other. That's
Yes.
very nice. But
Yes.
there's this question on what, according to you, that is what, according to Utpal, are the 5 components which will lead to India truly being a number one country in the world.
Uh,
Five takeaways.
Truly big. First, I think we need to recognize our greatness. We should stop seeing
Need to
ourselves
recognize that.
our kind of we should look at ourselves with kind of sense of pride a bit. We
Okay.
have been very apologetic about ourselves, and
Right.
that thing is going up. I mean, there's a sense of civilizationally also and everything. That's awareness is growing up, but there's still we are yet to reach there. So one, we have to know that it's a great civilization with great potential, and and uh, and we can do better. I'm not somebody who will say that you're stuck back to the past, and but your feet should be there, in the civilizational core, and then you should look ahead and move forward. So that is one thing, sir. Second is we need to change our the way we run our politics. This, especially the populism, has to stop. This is costing us badly. Uh, the 2 रुपए में चावल और 4 रुपए में आटा, and those kind of politics, we should stop doing. And thankfully, that is happening. There is recognition is coming up there. But unfortunately, we are always in the election mode. Some part of the state country is always in the election. So we come with all this populist measure, but we have to find ways not to do that, because that's hurting us really bad. Really bad. See, we should empower people. We should empower people to stand on their feet and not just give them, television, and free mobile and those kind of stuff. So this is two. Number three, I suppose that we need to look back and get rid of some of the legislations we had. Very dangerous legislation. One is RTE. I'm very against that. My family runs a school. So I know how difficult it is since the advent of right to education. This thing, because 25% you are giving space to weaker sections of society, which is a very good thing to do. But what is happening is that money which state is supposed to give it to the institutions, this come very late, because they don't have money. Some of the states like Bihar and others, they don't have money to give. So according to one survey, it says that it takes them almost like 360 days to give back the money. Resultantly, what is happening? 10,000 schools at least have been closed in last 10 years, and this is really this is one thing. Another thing is like Waqf board, Waqf Act. It's really dangerous act. Like where I'm staying, my apartment. Tomorrow Waqf board can come and just say that okay, this is on a Waqf property. And by the way, 77% of Delhi is on Waqf land. At least they claim that. So and if they claim my apartment, now this will on me to prove that no, we are not on the Waqf land, and not them. And second thing is, where we'll go and ask that thing? Who will be the judge? Waqf board will be the judge. Very dangerous laws. Some of these things we have to really get rid of. Fourth is, I suppose that and we are going there. I think we have to be we have to work on our Atmanirbharta. The aspect is done, where we can develop on defense, on arms, and those kind of things, and the diplomacy last and foremost. That we have what we have done in last 10 years, we have to take it forward, because that's where the way we deal with the world, that will define our place in the global order.
Thank you, Utpal. I think you've summed this up very well. We've got less than 2 minutes, so I'll give 1 minute to Atul and then 1 minute to Utpal.
So I will use the time to just ask one question to Utpalji. What is your new book? What it is going to deal with?
I'm sorry, I didn't get your
word.
Your
new book.
New book. I'm working something on history. That's something is close to my heart. So yeah.
So the next question is, what is close to your heart?
I love reading. Books are closer to my heart.
So that's the subject for your book. Okay, Atul, one last supplementary to you.
Sir, I think we have done, and
okay,
we would like to.
We are happy that we've had this very engaging conversation. It's a conversation in which I don't know how these 40 minutes went by. We just were talking. We will be meeting very soon with Atul's book, and reverse roles. So we'll have Atul in the hot seat, and Utpal and I will grill him, and we shall grill you really hard, Atul. We shall grill you really hard.
Really hard.
Whether you want to do that conversation from Kathmandu in the cooler climate, or you want to do it in hot Delhi. So with this, let me thank all our partners, all our viewers. You've been a great audience. There are still some questions which will refer to you, Utpal, so you can respond to them. Thank you very much, Team Technopack, the National Digital Library of India, Green Panel, Coal India, ONGC, Incredible India, Chalo, REC, NEFED, and all our partners for for having joined us. We're also very grateful to the print and to the Karwal Post, who are media partners. Thank you very much. We'll see you again on in the month of May now
Yes.
with Meera Borwankar's book, Madam Commissioner. Thank you very much. Happy viewing.
you, sir.
Happy listening.
Thank you, sir.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.